Ahead on KCCI 8 News Close-Up, back to work. State lawmakers start the new legislative session tomorrow. The big issues they're looking for on day one.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close-Up.
Iowa's 89th General Assembly starts the 2021 legislative session tomorrow. But like many things, this upcoming session won't look like normal. Health checks and temperatures will be taken outside before lawmakers enter the State House. But there is no requirement for lawmakers to wear masks in the Capitol. Some Democrats are concerned, saying the session could be a super spreader. Back in November, Republicans expanded their majority in both state House chambers. Democrats could have flipped the House on Election Day but failed. Here's a look at the current balance of power. The House has 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats. Meanwhile, in the Iowa Senate, 31 of the 50 senators are Republicans. One seat is still up for grabs after Representative Marionette Miller Meeks resigned. A special election will happen later this month to fill her spot. Last year, lawmakers weren't able to accomplish much before the pandemic put things on pause. The session was suspended in March and through much of April. Lawmakers got back to work in June and passed a nearly $8 billion budget, but Democrats argued the budget didn't do enough to support health care. Later that month, Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill that requires a 24-hour wait period for an abortion after a woman visits her doctor. That bill is on hold pending a lawsuit in state court. Racial justice reforms made their way through both chambers after the death of George Floyd. Governor Reynolds signed an executive order for felon voting rights before lawmakers could agree on a bill. Well, this year, the legislature will focus on recovering from the coronavirus pandemic. Governor Reynolds spoke to reporters last week at the Capitol, where she gave her thoughts for what's ahead.
Just like many of you, we are so ready to turn the page on 2020, and we are excited to begin a new year. You know, we began 2020 last year with our state's fiscal health strong. Our economy was growing, our wages were going up, and we had more Iowans working than at any other time in our state history. We had made significant investments in education, mental health with our children's mental health system, workforce with Empower Rural Iowa, with our Future Ready Iowa, and Rural Iowa with our Empower Rural Iowa. And again, we had started working on criminal justice reform. So as we began last legislative session, we were ready to really build on those successes by building tomorrow's economy. And then, of course, you all know COVID hit in March. And in 10 months, Iowans went through a pandemic, civil unrest, a significant drought, and a derecho. A word I think that we use a lot to describe Iowa and Iowans is resilient. It is true of our people, our communities, our state budget, and our economy. And just every single day, I continue to be inspired by the strength, the tenacity, and the compassion of Iowans. So our budget started in a place of strength, like I said earlier, when the pandemic hit. And that really did allow us to absorb a good part of the economic blow. And Iowa didn't face a lot of the massive budget shortfalls that many of the other states did. A lot of that, I believe, was attributed to not only responsible budgeting practices, but the diversity of our economy and the fact that over 80% of our workforce and businesses remained open. Of course, we produce 10% of the nation's food supply. And so it was inherent that we keep that food supply chain moving and keep food on the table. We put in place targeted mitigation efforts, but regardless of that, we still had businesses and families that were significantly impacted by COVID and the derecho. We have allocated almost $1.25 billion of the CARES 1.0 funding that's gone to families, to businesses, to healthcare, to mental health, to education, and to farmers. And we will be receiving CARES 2.0, which will be another $1.25 billion that will be able to meet some of the needs due to COVID. I believe that Iowa is in a position to grow and to come back even stronger. Our unemployment rate is at 3.6 right now, down from 11% at its highest. We do have a budget surplus. Our cash reserves are full. And today we have over 60,000 jobs available. So I think it's important that we continue to prioritize workforce development, childcare, education, mental health, and infrastructure. And, COVID has changed the way that we do business, how we educate our children, how we receive health care. And has exposed some of our vulnerabilities. So I think, this is a year for us to learn from what we've experienced over the last year. And again, I believe that this upcoming session is an opportunity for us to show Iowans and the country that we can come together and get some big things done.
The governor says she believes a change is needed to give parents the choice to have their children in school during COVID.
I tell you, I'm hoping I can bring some of the media on some of them. Have had some unbelievable, heart-wrenching conversations with parents and with students and with, honestly, teachers and administrators across the state, and the impact that COVID-19 and not having our kids in school has had on them, their social and emotional well-being, their mental health, the stress, the strain that it has put on their family. It was really enlightening when I had was a senior, a high school senior young lady said the other night, I just don't understand it. It seems to me that the standard should be 100% in school, not the exception. So right now we've given parents the choice to go 100% online, which I believe we need to continue that choice. But I also believe that parents and students, we can do it safely and responsibly, need to have the option to be 100% in the classroom. And I'm telling you the stories and that I've heard, and it's being reflected in it'll be reflected in the assessments that we're seeing. We've already seen some significant downturn in D's and F's, and we're talking about pass fail on core subjects. And we've got kids that that were A students that are failing, and it's just not working. And we need to recognize that, and we need to fix it and move forward. So I believe that they do need that option. I believe our kids need that option. And we have so many examples across this state of school districts that have been in the entire time, and they have done it in a safe and responsible manner, and they have excellent data where they can demonstrate that the spread is not happening in the classroom. There are exceptions, so that. We all know that. But by and large, the majority is happening outside of the classroom.
There's still much more ahead on KCCI 8 News Close Up. We hear from party leaders on both sides about the top issues they're ready to tackle.
We're all here in the middle of something new.
Welcome back. As lawmakers return to the State House this week, they won't be required to wear masks. Many Democrats say they are worried this could make the session a super spreader zone, but Republicans say there's no way to enforce a mask mandate.
I hope that you all know that we have not taken, Jack and I have not taken this lightly as far as going through every option that we have before us. When it comes to the specifically to the mask, just like I plan on telling the caucus, my plan is to wear a mask when I can't socially distance. Unless I'm in the chair, I'll be wearing one when I can't socially distance. I'll be recommending that of our caucus. We have no way to enforce that. Even if we were to say everyone in the caucus has to have a mask, there's no way for us to enforce that and say, sorry, you're not wearing a mask, you can't come on the floor. We don't have the ability to do that with even our own members. And so we feel that we have approached this in a reasonable way. I think we learned from June that members are going to take the precautions that they need to be safe. That was kind of a test run, for example, they gave us so we could learn from some of the things. You know, we're utilizing more technology than we did when we returned in June, especially on the House side. I know Jack and I have a few things we're doing differently, but we're going to do more streaming of committees, subcommittee process, utilizing larger spaces, making sure that we can do the best we can to social distance. And to be quite honest with you, our plan is in the House where we can social distance, we're going to, but I also can't guarantee that in every single setting. So that's just, people are going to have to use their best judgment and their personal responsibility. And if they need special accommodations for specific members, we've reached out to our caucus and the Democrats as well. And we want to work with each other to make those accommodations happen.
This virus is still very active in the population. And so we owe it to ourselves, to the public, to the people that we work with to take this virus very seriously, to understand that it's a very dangerous virus from a public health standpoint and for some individuals for their individual health. And so, from the Democratic caucus, we are going to take the virus safety protocols and our own protocols very seriously. We're going to require masks in our caucus, and that as we learned from June, that's not hard. My members were very willing to make sure that they were taking proper steps as prescribed by the CDC to protect the people that they work with and themselves from the pandemic, and not adding to the numbers here in the state ourselves. And so, I'm concerned and want to avoid, turning the legislature into a super spreader event. And so we're going to be doing everything that we know to do within our caucus to protect ourselves and to protect the public from further spreading this virus.
Last week, Governor Reynolds said she was not going to reintroduce her Invest in Iowa initiative. The plan called for cutting individual income taxes by 10% while raising the sales tax by 1%. The money from sales tax would be used on water quality and the mental health system. Republican leaders say they're still going to push for tax cuts in Iowa.
In 2018, we worked with the House, we worked with the governor to offer the first broad-based tax relief that this state's seen in well over a decade, and maybe even 2 decades. We're proud of the progress we've made on our tax climate, but we also understand that our tax climate is not where it needs to be in the long run. And so as long as I'm majority leader and as long as we're in the majority, we're going to continue to try to find ways to reduce the tax burden on Iowans. There's a lot of Iowans hurting right now. There's a lot of Iowans just scraping to get by in a pandemic. We believe helping them keep more of their own money is a positive thing. And so if we can continue to lower tax rates, we think that's positive. And so haven't had any conversations with the governor or the House on which areas we want to focus directly or where we want to go. But we know that our tax climate is not competitive enough, and we want to make sure that we don't ever stop working towards a more competitive tax climate.
When you talk tax cuts, really the question in my mind is, who are you talking tax cuts for? You heard talk about 2018. Those tax cuts really went disproportionately to the wealthy and big business. If you're talking about tax cuts for working Iowans to make a house more affordable, daycare more affordable, to help with healthcare and education costs, well then, yeah, we want to be first and foremost. I guess we want to be a part of that conversation as advocates for working Iowans and families. And so, when we talk tax cuts, you really, who for and what amount. The other thing I would add then too is to make sure that we're not just shifting burdens. We've seen a lot of burden shifting over the last few years for our healthcare system and mental health funding away from state funds because we've cut taxes, but then that just results in a tax increase for property tax owners or local option sales tax to fund their school or their mental health. And so if we're going to talk tax cuts, let's talk tax cuts for working Iowans not just for those at the top and not just a burden shift.
With the Invest in Iowa initiative put on hold for 2021, some are concerned about funding for mental health. Right now, Iowa uses property taxes to fund social service programs like mental health. Leaders in the legislature say finding another way to fund those programs are still a top priority.
Regardless of whether the governor would have proposed her bill or not, there still was going to be conversation, I would say, about using general fund dollars to try to alleviate that burden on local property tax. So absolutely, we plan on having that as part of the conversation and more of a global conversation about the use of the services that we have in the state. And I don't remember who I said that with. I was doing an interview with somebody, but I think the quickest way in which we can try to alleviate some of the pressure on the services for mental health services is getting our kids back in school. I've heard from so many constituents, and I've talked to my colleagues, and the burdens that it's placing on families, whether it's single parent family, dual parent family, whatever it would be. I think that is when you talk about mental health, I get the property tax thing, and we obviously want to work on getting that off at the local level. But as far as the use of our services, I think that is the quickest thing that we can do to help try to alleviate the burden that is being placed on the services right now.
We've got to find funding for mental health. It's interesting where, one, it's a large burden to be on property tax, and that's causing a lot of problems for county and local government. And so the state just really hasn't stepped up and done its part. In a sense, it's interesting to hear, the speaker talk about getting kids back to school for mental health. And I think it really underscores, and I'm happy to hear him say that the support that we do need to provide to our schools for mental health and the services that they're providing before the pandemic and during this pandemic. We've really kind of seen a lot of school districts really step up, whether it's with their food programs or hybrid learning programs or doing daycare and things like that to try to alleviate the problems for children created by COVID. And so it really speaks to the need to make sure that we are funding our priorities in terms of taking care of the people of Iowa.
Another big issue on lawmakers' minds is election integrity. Coming up, we hear from both sides about changes needing to happen to Iowa's laws.
You've heard that an apple a day keeps
Well, there could be some changes ahead to Iowa's election laws for the upcoming legislative session. That includes possible restrictions on early voting.
Anything that the 2020 election taught us is election law matters, and having safe, secure elections that Iowans believe in and believe the results is paramount. It is the most important thing to our democracy. And that's why we've worked so hard on election law the last few years. And I believe the measures that we have put in place have led to safe, secure, predictable elections. And all the talk about how this is voter suppression is nonsense. That we had higher turnout in this election than we've ever had, and that's a good thing. And that's what we all should want is high turnout.
You know, a lot of these changes we're really solutions in search of a problem. Iowa has a long history of having a very sound voting process. Do we need to make some changes and tweaks? Yeah, you know, as technology changes, as we learn and things like that, we can always make improvements. I think, to be truthful, Iowa has had a process for elections in place for years that has served Iowans well, and changes really that have been brought by the Republicans the last few years are really on false pretext, in my opinion.
One concern for Democrats this year involves the state's redistricting process, which could reach a point where Republicans influence the drawing of political boundaries. Every 10 years, a nonpartisan group draws new boundaries for state and federal offices. The lines are based on census results. Lawmakers then vote on the map. If the first two are rejected, lawmakers are given a third proposal, which can be changed themselves. Both Speaker Grassley and Senator Whitver won't rule out letting the process reach that point.
Around for 50 years, and to my knowledge has worked correctly, and it's a law that is highly respected. If it's highly respected, I don't know why we change it, and we will continue to use the process that is on the books, and whether that means taking the first map or taking the second map or going to the third map. We don't know that. We haven't seen the map. We don't even have the census data yet. So what we say, or what I say, is we're going to follow the law, and we're going to make the maps accordingly and pass the maps accordingly to the law that's been on the books for 50 years.
I'm not convinced that I can, and I've only been here through one redistricting. I don't know the last time that leaders were asked on the redistricting process to accept a map that they haven't even seen when the census isn't even, the data is not even here. I think that's just I think it's a ludicrous question to even ask of leadership. And in fact, I would say it's for Jack and I to sit here and say and make any kind of commitment like that, I don't think we'd be doing our job. And so, no, I'm absolutely not going to make that commitment. I'm not sure how many other speakers have been asked that question, but I'm guessing it's probably zero. And so at this point, we'll follow the process that's in place. That's what's been asked of us by the other side, to not make any changes to the law that other states wish that they had. And so, no, I'm not going to make that commitment, and we're going to follow the process that's in place.
From the Democratic standpoint, is we acknowledge that Iowa has a good districting process, and so we're committed to that process. And you know, the first two maps, which are nonpartisan drawn maps, were drawn by people with no interest, and we think that achieves the purpose of what voters expect, of what the public expects, and maintains that integrity. And that's that politicians don't choose their voters. It's the other way around. And what other states are doing is they're looking at the process that Iowa has implemented for a long time as a model. And that's, I think, from our standpoint, that's what we're at is a fair, nonpartisan districting map that allows for the will of the people to be expressed, as opposed to some sort of gerrymandered map. That has no place in Iowa. And I think from our standpoint, that's our commitment is to this process that served the state well. We'd hate to see for that third map to go, because we don't think it's necessary. We don't think it meets the intent of a nonpartisan system.
Next on KCCI 8 News Close Up, ban lifted. What you need to know as Iowans race to renew their driver's license.
This day is our day!
Well, the grace period on driving with an expired license ended this weekend. KCCI's Cynthia Fodor shows us what you need to know.
Do you expect a rush on renewals?
Well, we have been doing a lot of communication with people who fall into this category. We've been sending them some targeted mailing. We also have offered driver's license a 6-month extension. So if people fall into this category of having an expired license, but they want to continue driving, they can go to our website and complete a 6-month extension.
Otherwise, how do they renew it? Do they have to go into the service center or the courthouse?
No, not always. We are encouraging people to check to see if they can renew online. And we're seeing a lot of Iowans choose that option who are able to do so. But every other renewal period, they do need to come in to see us. And we have changed our operations so that we are operating on an appointment only model. What that allows us to do then is to monitor how many people we have coming into our service center. And we are following COVID safety practices. So that means we have fewer people in our waiting area. People come about 15 minutes before their appointment. And once their appointment hits, if it's a simple renewal, they're in and out in about 15 minutes. And I encourage Iowans, if they have an expired license, to go ahead, if they're not able to renew online, to look at that 6-month extension, or to go ahead and get an appointment scheduled with us right away. And I can let them know that we are following the safety protocols to a T.
Thank you for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close Up.